Hello and welcome to my channel Future Prepared. My name is Tom Cunningham. I've been working in the industry for about 15 plus years now. Currently I'm a principal designer. The intention for this channel is for me to record videos and share some lessons learned over the years. In today's video I'm going to be talking about career paths for individual contributors, whether you should continue on going more and more senior or also moving into the managerial side of things too. Being a senior designer is a high level role, and it's a perfectly good place to spend your entire career. Some designers feel pressure to constantly move up, but that isn't necessary unless you're genuinely motivated by new challenges that require a shift in responsibilities. Some companies don't even have principal or staff level roles, and where they do exist, they are by design rare. Even if you're ambitious, it's fine to remain a senior designer for many years or most of your career. The only reason to push beyond that level is if you feel stagnant. If you find yourself no longer learning, growing, or making the kind of impact you want. At that point, a transition may make sense. But the path forward isn't always into a principal role. For some, that next step might be management, though that's not for everyone as well. Not all great designers make great managers, and not all designers want to manage. Personally, I've always seen myself as more of a player coach than a traditional manager. I prefer to lead by example rather than authority, influencing through my work rather than through formal reporting structures. That approach works well for me, and it's a viable leadership path for many senior designers who want to grow without stepping into management. But for those who do want to move into principal level work, the transition requires more than just tenure. It requires a shift in mindset, responsibilities, and influence. The shift from a senior level designer to a principal level designer is not just about time served or acquiring a title. It's about evolving responsibilities, deeper influence, and ensuring the role aligns with your strengths and values. For some, the move from senior to principal happens quickly, often by changing companies and leveraging external opportunities. For others, like in my case, it can take a decade or more in a senior role before stepping into a principal level work. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. It depends on personal philosophy, career ambitions, and the nature of the challenges one chooses to take on. I've always been more driven by the quality and impact of the work rather than the title itself. Some people approach their career with a more strategic, upward mobility mindset, moving from company to company to accelerate promotions. I respect that approach, but for me, the goal has always been about finding challenges that excite me and where I can make a transformative impact. When I was discussing my promotion to principal designer with my manager at the time, I was very conscious of the Peter principle, the idea that people get promoted until they reach a level where they are no longer competent. I told my manager this outright. I don't want to be an example of the Peter principle. I don't want to be promoted into a role where I can be less competent than I am now. He laughed at the time and said, I don't think anyone has ever quoted the Peter principle about themselves to me before. That's a first. It was a lighthearted moment, but I meant it sincerely. I was confident in my abilities as a senior designer and wanted to ensure that a move to principal wouldn't place me in a position where I was ineffective or struggling to meet expectations. If the principal role required a fundamentally different skill set, one that didn't play to my strengths, then it wasn't the right move for me. This speaks to a broader consideration. Career growth isn't just about moving up, it's about moving into the right challenges. There's a certain integrity in recognizing what you're best at and ensuring that any new role builds on those strengths rather than undermining them. At a senior level, the focus is often on execution, mentorship, and owning design work within a team. A principal designer, however, is expected to operate at a higher level of influence, shaping design strategy, driving cross-functional initiatives, and acting as a force multiplier for the organization. The transition isn't just about doing more of what you already do well, it's about stepping into a more ambiguous, leadership-driven space where impact is measured in different ways. This can be a difficult adjustment for some, especially if they are deeply attached to hands-on execution work. For me, the transition was only worth making if I could still operate from a place of strength. That meant ensuring that my ability to solve complex problems, mentor teams, and drive meaningful change remained central to my role. rather than being sidetracked by responsibilities that weren't aligned with my expertise. The decision to move from senior to principal is not one to be taken lightly. It's important to approach it with self-awareness. It's not about chasing a title, it's about understanding what kind of impact you want to have and whether a principal role truly enables that. For anyone considering the transition, or if they're in that position at the moment, I'd encourage them to ask themselves a couple of questions. What drives me? Am I motivated by the title or by the opportunity to tackle bigger, more meaningful challenges? Do my strengths align with the expectations of the role, or am I at risk of stepping into something that doesn't play to what I do best? Am I prepared to operate in a more strategic and ambiguous space, or do I thrive in more hands-on, execution-focused role? Do I even need to move up at all, or am I already where I do my best work? The path isn't the same for everyone, and that's okay. What matters is making career decisions with intention, rather than simply following an expected trajectory. So for me personally, when I changed over into a principal role, I just felt quite comfortable with the ambiguous work that I needed to do. I'd found that previously, over the last number of years, I'd already been doing those types of projects, and I got a reputation as someone who could move into an ambiguous space, understand how to navigate those complex situations, and understand how we best move forward. So we've been talking about moving from senior into principal roles from a design perspective, but I think many of the points that I've hit on in this video are relevant for many different types of roles and people at different situations. Whether you're beginning your career, moving into a kind of mid-level designer up to a senior designer, I think always trying to be intentional, always trying to play to your strengths, and finding interesting, challenging work. That approach has worked pretty well for me, and I continue to be challenged by the work that's ahead of me, and it continues to excite me. So this was just a short overview video talking about some of the career paths that you can take. I'm sure I'll be digging into this in more and more detail over the coming videos as this channel progresses. Thanks very much for watching the video. If you found it useful, please like and subscribe and share it with any of your colleagues that you think might find this content useful too. See you in the next video.